Welcome back! What we do is not about like decoration. It's not about like putting things to decorate the house. It's not about, making life prettier. In a way, it's about understanding what life means and what it means to be alive. Adrienne Rich said when she rejected the Presidential Medal of the Arts, art, and in my case poetry, means nothing if it only exists to decorate the dinner table of power that holds it hostage. Right? So I think of what that dinner table of power might mean, right? On one end, it could be the people who have given me money to support my art, right? Maybe that's it. Maybe the dinner table of power is my gender, or my race, or my interpreted race. Any power that I've been given, or any power that the culture has given me, is what I'm trying to, if not dismantle, then understand, so I can live a gentler life, and so I can use whatever privilege or power I have in a way that makes life easier for the people around me, or something along those lines, where I'm not simply taking from the world, which is really the colonial idea, right? Is that the world is ours for plunder. The world is ours for things that we can extract from it. And you find people that behave that way socially, and I won't comment on that. But what I'm most interested in is this process of both receiving and giving, and that it's sort of a holistic thing, right? That we are connected to one another, and that it does matter how we regard one another, and especially how we use language. And if we're talking about poetry, if we're talking about American poetry and what's being read right now, what's very important, the most important work is the stuff that's dealing with these really difficult things. And I don't mean necessarily race and racism directly. I mean identity. I mean violence. And I think this is the center of everything that we're dealing with right now. I mean, at least in Britain, my impression that, like, with all this political stuff, I can't speak to it directly, I'm not British, but it seems that way. And in the States, it's a similar situation where we're talking about xenophobia, right? We're talking about fear of the other or the outsider coming to. But, like, is that person an outsider? Like, who is an outsider? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, because they speak a different language? Because they have different customs? Like, are they really an outsider? Like, outsider of what?
The tricky thing with that is that we're essentially talking about people who Britain ruled and made their own colonies and saying, yes, you're all British now, you're all British. And then when they actually come to Britain, they're like, oh, no, you're not British.
Right. And, like, that's the center. That's really the center of political violence, is to believe that the other side, right, if we even have sides, like, that their story, their narrative is not legitimate. And I think that, like, bringing this back into this whole writing thing is that we have to believe the legitimacy of each other's narratives and each other's stories. That doesn't mean not interrogating them or questioning them or unpacking them, but seeing them and bearing witness to them. Because that's the only way we're going to live in the world peacefully, is that if we're able to understand each other's narrative.
Well, listen, it's been great to share stage with you.
Likewise,
to meet you in person, and I love it when I get to first read a poet's work, and then find out a bit later on that they're really cool people. And
you likewise.
So, no, that's cool, man.
Of course, before we stop, I want to do that moment, right? So, so as you know well, but I'll tell you again, one of the closest people in my life, the poet Cody Todd, passed away on the 22nd. Today is about the 26th? Yeah, 4 days. And, when I found out the news, I was coming off the train in Berlin, going to a war memorial. Literally on my way out, this thing pops up on my phone, and I just, like, lose it completely and entirely. It was amazing that I was able to get out of Berlin to get here. And the only way that I could do it was having him in my head being like, you have to do these readings. And then I was talking to the poet Kate Marvin, and she said, you should read one of his at the beginning and the end, and read some of his favorite poems of yours. I was like, that's brilliant. So I looked in my bag and I saw my books, and I started crying again, because I was like, these are like his, And one of the things that I mentioned last night that I feel is really important is that, when we exist in a poetry community, when we let other poets into our lives in a serious way, their work becomes your work and vice versa. He's inseparable from that book. That book has his, even if he wasn't line editing or anything, he's all over that book, and we help each other build aesthetic lives. He introduced me to Larry Levis, Dean Young, just like a million great poets, and he was just like a total nerd about it and just loved it so much. He spun records, he showed me, he took me, I can't get into the whole thing, but anyway, so I've been reading his poems at these readings and talking about that, and it's been an amazing thing to have people receive his work, and also the grief that I'm feeling and that everyone who loved him is feeling. And I feel very, very grateful and very lucky to have the space, including this one that you're setting up for me, to say his name, Cody Todd, and to honor him and his work, and really carry it into my life, which he helped set me forward into. And so thank you again for that, and thank you all for making it this far.
No, great. No, there's a quote that I've sent on. That says something about if what you do is what I do when you are part of me. Right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think and that's in Whitman too.
Yeah.
Really. And I think I think he's right.
Ray recommends.